got a pile of laundry next to me. So I'm like, let me do a laundry chat and give you guys a little bit of an update about Kansas. So if you got a pile of laundry, grab it. Let's get our laundry done this morning or this afternoon, whenever you're watching this, and let's talk. All right, so the number one question that I get here in Kansas is, well, why Kansas? You were living in Florida and you moved to Kansas? Why Kansas? And I say all the time, I'm like, you Kansans need to be more proud of your of your state. No, but it is a big move, and it's like, how did you find Kansas? And I always explain to them, like, I'm like, when we first visited Kansas, we were actually visiting a friend. We were visiting Katie from Life in the Mundane. And we just fell in love with this hidden gem, is what I like to call it. Like, we just fell in love with this family-oriented, small, everybody's just super sweet, super nice. Well, all the people that we have met have been super kind and very, it's not, is it small town? I don't know if it's small town vibes. I don't know. But it's just like random people wave to you in the street, like while you're driving by. Like they're just like, hi. And it's just, I don't know, it's just neat and cool. And we just felt like this was a very family friendly, family focused area to raise our very large and growing family in. Well, to us, large and growing. And once we got here, nothing about that has changed. It's not like we got here and all of a sudden it was like, oh my goodness, everybody around here is not who they seem, and like, no, it wasn't like that at all. It only solidified why God called us here. Because the more and more that we are here, the more and more we see, oh, dude, this is just how people are. Like, I'm sure not everybody in Kansas is kind. And not everybody here is friendly or whatever. But for the most part, and all the people that we have met so far, from doctors to nurses to just random people on the street to grocery people here are just kind, just thoughtful. They're not necessarily moving too fast to consider others. And that's very encouraging. And the other thing is that I have found that Kansas makes me feel like I can be a Christian. That's what I put on my notes. I'm like, Kansas makes me feel like I can be a Christian. And that sounds dumb. You can be a Christian anywhere. But there is, and like I said, I'm not saying all Kansans are like this. I'm not saying all of Kansas is like this. This could just be where I'm staying. And it could just be the people that I've interacted with so far. But there is this okay to be a Christian vibe that is here that I found very hard and difficult in Florida, and that I didn't really find. Like, it was like, I'm a Christian, but don't worry, I still, like, I'm cool, I love you, you know? Like, don't, like, you gotta make Christianity this, like, it's okay, I'm not gonna judge you. Like, you always have to come with all these, like, caveats when it comes to Christianity. But here, it's like, Christians aren't necessarily viewed as bad people, or the bad people, if that makes sense. Like, for example, when anybody asked me why I moved to Kansas, I said, it's God. And everybody's like, everybody that I've said that to have always been like, okay, you know, like, that makes sense. You know, that's not a crazy idea or crazy notion that God would call you to come and live someplace. Like, it's not this foreign thing. And I do believe that we are called to go out to other places, and spread the gospel, and that we aren't called to kind of like live in communes and never see others that think differently than us, and never talk to others about, Christianity and stuff like that. Like, no, I'm not thinking that. But I have never lived in a place that is so accepting of my religion, and in a way that kind of creates this boldness, that I've never really experienced before. Sorry, that's my dog. So she's just gonna start shaking in the background. But it kind of creates this boldness that I never really had, or never really experienced before when it comes to Christianity. And I'm hoping that the goal of that can be that, because I might not be called to live in Kansas forever. So I'm hoping that the goal of that would be to build this strength, that to build this confidence that, like, I can go boldly proclaim the gospel to others, if that makes sense. But all that to say, Kansas makes me feel like I can be a Christian. The church. The church that we have become a part of has been such a blessing to us, and has truly shown us what true church is supposed to look like. This church that we are a part of, I have never been a part of a church like this. And I've had some pretty, I would say, great experiences with churches, not terrible experiences. Like, I've never been in like that judgy church, or a church that's too wild, or nothing like that. But this church is selfless in nature. It is literally the hands and feet of Jesus in the small mundane things, whether it is praying for you when your kids are sick, like whether it's like just praying for you for you and your kids when your kids are sick, to checking up on you if they didn't see you at church on Sunday. Hey, you okay? Is everything okay? Is there anything that we could be praying about? But not in a way that's like, where you at? Why you wasn't at church? Not like that. In a way that's like, genuinely, I'm concerned. Like, I notice you, like, I care for you, and I want to make sure that you are okay. Like, I want to make sure that you are good, because I love you. And if I haven't heard from you, I'm gonna call. I'm gonna find out where you've been. I'm gonna make sure you're okay. I'm gonna make sure you're not in need. And if you are in need, I'm not only gonna say, hey, I'll pray for you, but I will say, okay, all right, you need a car. Let me see. Let me put out some fillers and see if I know anybody that's selling a car. Or, okay, you need some food? I'll be at your house this week, and I'll bring you some food. Or, okay, you need a job? Let me come alongside you, and we'll go on the computer, and we'll try to find a job together, or whatever. Like, they are so, and I'm talking about from the top to the bottom. This ain't a committee in the church that is doing that. This ain't like, you know what I mean? Like somebody like a specific group or anything like that. This is from pastor to just member of the church. Like, that is how they function. That is how they are. There's not much thought process that goes behind it. Because you know how sometimes people gotta you look at me like, that's not what you wanted to do, you know? No, this is what they want to do. This is where their heart is. Their heart is taking care of people. Their heart is serving others outside of themselves. And it has completely transformed what I value in a church, completely transformed how I view what church is supposed to look like and be like. And I just feel incredibly blessed that God has brought this church into my life, because I've never been alive for 34 years. That might not be a long time, but it's a time. And I have never experienced church like that. And like I said, I've experienced some good churches. I've lost my father and had a church come alongside and like provide food for us and given us a wonderful Christmas and all the things, but it still wasn't a daily being a part of my life. You know what I mean? And I mean, I can go on and on about this church. I mean, there are people who don't have kids that are volunteering at the church co-op. There are people, you know what I mean? Like the co-op that meets on a Friday, you ain't got no kids and you still showing up every Friday to help out in the co-op however you can help out. Like they just care and they're invested in the lives of every child in the church, whether or not the child is theirs. They're invested in family, and they're invested in the people that you care about. So like if your sister is sick, they will pray for your sister as if it was their own sister or as if it was you. You know what I mean? Anyways, like I said, I can go on and on about the church, but I am incredibly grateful for this church that God has placed in our life. Now my kiddos, my kiddos have like changed into these outdoor kids that are just constantly outside, playing outside in the dirt, trying to learn how to climb trees, shooting guns. My kids are just like, I mean, they are loving it, you know, they are loving just being kids. And I think my kids would have thrived anywhere. They would have thrived in Florida. They would have thrived in a lot of places because kids are just resilient like that. But there is something special about them growing up here and afforded the opportunity to just be kids for a little bit longer. In Florida, I found that just a lot of the kids were grown. And like I said, I want to say it again. I understand that this is not all Kansas kids. I'm sure we're going to find some extra grown Kansas kids, just like you'll find extra grown Florida kids. But for the most part, in my experience and the people that I've been around, it's a lot more prevalent in Florida, a lot more just in your face and bold, and you can see it, is that like the kids are grown, like cell phones, like at like 5, like mad young ages, and just, you know, shaking the head, twisting the waist, like social media, all the things. And you don't see a lot of that here. Not saying that it is not here, once again, but I don't see a lot of that here. I see kids being kids at a lot older of an age, like 11, 12, 13 years old, just still being kids, than I did in Florida, which is so refreshing. And I'm thankful that my kids get to be raised in that environment because that's not possible for everybody. I'm grateful to God for allowing us to have that opportunity to raise our children in that type of environment. My daughter's medical care, y'all. If you don't know, my daughter has juvenile dermatomyositis. She has JDM, which is an autoimmune disease that has no cure. It does have a way to maintain it, as well as it can go into remission. Now, I say all that to say that for the first 5 years of her life, we were blessed to find a rheumatologist that diagnosed her very soon and was able to really maintain and monitor her. And with that said, there was a lot that the rheumatologist, we only had one pediatric rheumatologist in South Florida where we were staying. And so because of that, or near where we were staying. And so because of that, the type of care that we got was just limited to her. Here, there is a lot more of a specialized rheumatologist at Children's Mercy, who has, number one, they have tons of rheumatologists, children's rheumatologists, which is such a blessing. So there's more than one. And then on top of that, they have one who like knows about JDM, like who's treated several children for the past 15 years with her specific 1 in a million diagnosis, and is truly able and willing and wanting to take a holistic approach to her care and really takes the time. I mean, when we go to her appointments before in Florida, her appointments were like 15-20 minutes. We go to this rheumatologist appointment, and the rheumatologist is literally in our room for a minimum of 45 minutes, talking to us, asking for updates, having her do a bunch of exercises to see where, if she has any weaknesses, talking to her to see how she is feeling, just really cares, and then follows up with us with a like, in the portal, and just be like, hey, I just wanted to check up on Samaya, see how she's doing, like every single month, like just follows up with us to see how she's doing randomly. You know what I mean? If there's a lab, in Florida, my experience was if there's a lab, I usually have to call the rheumatologist and be like, hey, did you see this? Because she's the only one. So she's got a lot of patients. But I usually have to call her and be like, hey, did you see this? Is this okay? Da 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 da. This rheumatologist, she calls me. Okay? She calls me and she's like, hey, I reviewed Samaya's labs and everything's fine. Like, so it's not like she calls me to tell me when there's bad stuff. She even calls me to tell me when there's nothing to tell me. Okay? Like that. I'm like, where you got all this time? And I'm sure she's got hundreds of patients too. You know what I mean? But you got all this time to like not even have your nurse call me, but you personally call me and tell me this. And I'm thinking, okay, well, maybe that's just how they are for the first month when you first come to the practice or whatever. Like, no, it has been this way for the past 6 months since we have seen her and been following with my daughter's care. Just another wonderful, great, unexpected blessing with living here. But even with all that said, not but, I don't like but. I mean, no, I don't like but. And with all that said, we've had difficult trials. We've had some really difficult trials here in Kansas. The move was a lot more expensive than we had expected to be. So if you're moving from state to state, just know whatever you think it's going to be, it's probably going to be a lot more expensive than that. So make sure you have extra finances. And so with the move having been a lot more expensive for us, when our entire basement flooded and completely had to gut that area out. And also super grateful for Katie and Mark, because when that happened, they came through and they came to our house and they helped us with that entire situation. But all that to say, when that happened, that was an unexpected financial hit that we were not prepared for. All of our toilets in our home need to be replaced and do not work, and we are having to like redo bathrooms, which we weren't expecting to have to do. And so that financial hit was difficult. And so we have had some trials, and it hasn't been all roses and rainbows and just like this magical experience, but the blessings far outweigh the difficulties, and we are figuring out how to overcome these difficult financial times, and just really trusting God and relying on God, because we can clearly see that He is the one that has brought us here, and that He is the one that continues to sustain us here. And so just really trusting Him, and just really leaning on Him and focusing on gratefulness through all of this. Not on the fact that we only have one car and need another car so bad, but just, and the fact that baby's coming, and all the things, but not stressing about that, but really just focusing on all the blessings and all the lessons that we are learning in the midst of this experience. So I asked Tubby, how's Kansas going for you? And so I said, babe, I got to film a video. I want to give them a little Kansas update. How's Kansas going for you? And so this is what he had to say. He said, the people and climate he loves. Like, he loves the climate, which is a little bit different for me. It's cold, y'all. It's mad cold. My skin is thickening up. My skin is thickening up, but the weather is temperamental, and it don't make no sense to me. But my husband and my kiddos love it. They are so excited. They want a white Christmas, all the things. So, but he loves a different climate. He's only ever experienced tropical. So for him, he likes different. He likes to try new things. And so to really truly experience 4 seasons is something that makes him happy, makes his heart happy. He is enjoying seeing the different school system and how different school systems function. And so he said that has been nice to see. But he says, we need to pass a collection plate around to buy some lights at Home Depot or Menards to put around. He's like, it is too dark at night. We need to pass a collection plate around to get some lights in these streets. He's so stupid. And I asked him, and I said, babe, do you see yourself growing old in Kansas? Do you see yourself making like a life here, like a permanent life here? And he's like, yeah, not in this house, because he wants some land. He wants some land. He wants some chickens. He wants some goats, all the things. And so, he said, not necessarily in this house, but like in a small piece of property. Yeah, he can definitely see himself growing old here. So if you want to know how we're doing, we can see ourselves growing old here. Anyways, if you didn't catch our We Are Moving to Kansas video, check it out right here. And let me know in the comments, if you're from Kansas, are these things like kind of true? Like, is this how your experience in Kansas has been? Or if you've ever visited Kansas. But yeah, just thanking God. Until next time. Bye, y'all.